shout of victory. This is an old one. Say, where everybody you are to come along. I mean, say we're going to us. All right, it's such a beautiful song that we wouldn't necessarily want to cut this morning, but I recognize that you are enjoying it, and you can come back to it there from us on the radio platform. Of course, it is NRP Radio, broadcasting on the frequency or on the platform nrpmediaja.com. It's 6:32. We're going to be getting to the news at this time, so stay with us, and we'll come back to the radio platform after this. So let's go on all now with the news, and we welcome you and thank you so much for joining us on this station. A very pleasant morning to you, and welcome now to our newscast right here on nrpmediaja.com. That's our radio platform, and NRP Media JA on Facebook and YouTube. It's Thursday, March 7, 2024. I am Leon Nash with the NRP Break of Day newscast. Here are the headlines. Successful councillors in the recent local government elections are expected to be sworn in to office across the island today. Magisterial recount continues in Westmoreland today, where the PNP is attempting to wrest power from the JLP candidate-elect in the Cornwall Mountain Division. Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, says that the government will be implementing measures to ensure greater spend of capital expenditure in the upcoming fiscal year. 3 firearms and several rounds of ammunition seized during an operation in Central Village, St. Catherine yesterday. And in sports, basketball action, Golden State Warriors thrashes the Milwaukee Bucks 125-90. The news today is brought to you courtesy of NRP Radio, reaching you where you are. No boundaries, no limitations.
Celebrating 3 years since our inception, the NRP brand of radio and other social media platforms on NRP Media JA is your newest online platform accessible for the promotion of your church and community activities, along with news and sports related information. It's the platform you have been longing for. So call us today at 876-336-9928 or email us at nationalreligiousmedia@gmail.com.
NRP Media and Radio, reaching you where you are. No boundaries, no limitations.
And now the details of the news. Successful candidates in the recent local government elections are expected to be sworn into office across the island today. This will include mayors and their deputies in all municipalities, to include the coveted Portmore and the Kingston and St. Andrew municipalities. Following the elections, both the ruling JLP and the PNP have been claiming victory through the results, though the results were not bearing out their claims. The JLP claimed it was victorious in 7 parishes, and this was later confirmed in the official release from the Electoral Commission on the weekend. However, both parties continue to haggle over the numbers and who will ultimately have the majority of the municipalities. In some instances, magisterial recounts have been used to wrest power from the opposing side, increasing the seats tally in municipalities and determining who ultimately will be in charge. The final count in respect of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation indicates that the People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party will each have 20 councillors in the municipal corporation. The People's National Party, having received a majority of the votes cast in the municipal corporation, will determine who will be the chairman or mayor in a meeting set for noon. the Jamaica Labour Party, will thereafter select the deputy mayor as set out at paragraph 61(5)(b) of the Representation of the People's Act. Meanwhile, over in Westmoreland, a magisterial recount, which started yesterday, will continue today for the Cornwall Mountain Division. The JLP's councillor-elect Donnet Foster is being challenged by the PNP's Abigail Malcolm to wrest power for that division. The PNP representative told the media that they are relying on the judge to reject approximately 90 ballots in the polling division, 140, on the basis that they were badly defaced or torn when the presiding officer was removing the counterfile from the ballot before placing them into the ballot box. Following yesterday's recount, the attorneys for both sides spoke to journalists watching the proceedings.
I am satisfied that the votes which were cast for the PNP, the votes which were cast for the Jamaica Labour Party in this particular PD are going to stand and be counted at the end of the day. So that is where we are. Beyond that, we have about 9 or 10 other boxes to count. Once the judge reviews his position overnight and makes his ruling as he has committed to in the morning. And it is my considered opinion, backed by authority, that the ruling is going to come in our favor.
Attorney Charles Sinclair, representing JLP's councillor-elect Donnet Foster. And Mr. Sinclair has accused the PNP of attempting to disenfranchise the electors.
PNP, they are seeking to, what I would describe, disenfranchise voters, which is something that everybody should abhor and be against. People go out and take the time to vote, and their vote must be counted. And I found it a little troubling with some of the submissions made by Mr. McCurdy for the PNP. And it is clear to me that he doesn't even know what is on a ballot, because he was seeking to say that the ballot is not identifiable, that it is related to the division and that it is related to the PD. And I was amazed as an attorney, as somebody who I would have thought would have participated in the electoral process and would have possibly marked ballots for himself, did not know that the ballots were so well put together.
That was attorney at law Charles Sinclair, representing JLP's councillor-elect Donnet Foster. Meanwhile, attorney at law Clayton Morgan, representing the PNP's Abigail Malcolm, says his client is hopeful that the judge will rule in their favor or continuing the review going at least into Friday.
I mean, all of the ballots, but I understand that some of them were also allocated to the applicant, but most were allocated to the respondent. So at the end of the tally, we are making certain assumptions based on who gets them or not. So tomorrow morning, we will make submissions, and the judge will make a decision. And it may spill over into Friday or even next week. Who knows? It's a continuing matter.
That was attorney at law Clayton Morgan. And in other news now, Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, says that the government will be implementing measures to ensure greater spend of capital expenditure in the upcoming fiscal year. Dr. Clark, who was addressing the sitting of the Standing Finance Committee of the House of Representatives on Tuesday, said that the projects that fell behind in the 2023-2024 fiscal year were primarily due to private sector entities that were selected through the procurement process being unable to fulfill their obligations. Dr. Clark noted that in a couple of cases, entities were not able to post the bonds required, which means that the procurement process had to be done all over. And we do apologize. We that clip available for playing at this time. We will tend to try our best. As a matter of fact, let's try and see if we can get it in at this time.
And in other cases, failure in terms of response to the procurement, i.e., the responses don't meet the criteria, and the procurement therefore fails and has to be redone. What we're going to be attempting to do differently this time, member, in addition to some changes that we'll make in some of the procurement processes, but I think the fundamental difference is going to be to try to be in a position where we have more projects available than budgeted capacity, so that if something is falling behind, we can rotate to something else.
That was Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark. And Dr. Clark told the sitting of the Standing Finance Committee that capital expenditure and public investments have the capacity to improve the quality of life of Jamaicans. He added that the country runs the risk of falling behind if the government cannot grow and execute on its capital expenditure at a required rate. The government will also be embarking on a series of initiatives, including infrastructural upgrades aimed at reducing the energy consumption of the National Water Commission. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Senator Matthew Samuda, who highlighted the significant impact of energy costs on the entity, indicated that one of the key initiatives is the installation of a floating solar system over the Mona Reservoir in St. Andrew. The system, to be installed at the cost of approximately US $60 million, will produce 45 megawatts of clean energy, which is expected to save the NWC approximately $1 billion per year. Mr. Samuda emphasized that savings will be to systems right across the length and breadth of Jamaica. Mr. Samuda, who was addressing the recent groundbreaking ceremony for the 60 million Minard well replacement project in Minard, St. Anne, reminded that the NWC is the single largest user of energy in Jamaica. He noted that the entity expends upwards of 30% of its total revenue on its provision, and so as to bring down that energy bill, a relentless effort will be implemented through reduction of the energy usage. Senator Samuda also outlined plans to replace more than 36 of the NWC's oldest and most energy efficient or inefficient pumps and undertake the necessary rewiring and maintenance work. Meanwhile, the government has awarded a US $197,000 contract to European firm Soften-J to develop the Jamaica Legal Information Portal. The portal is intended to improve public access to Jamaica's laws, educate the public about all aspects of legal information, and provide a facility for the persons to express views on and query the status of any law. It will provide advanced search functionality and expanded availability of laws in various forms, with a particular focus on facilitating access to the Jamaica Gazette publications, as well as the content providing notification of various seminal, judicial, and legislative developments. Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, Marlene Mallow-Fort, said Soften-J is ranked in the top 100 global information technology outsourcing services providers by the International Association of Outsourcing Professionals. Work on the portal commenced on February 19 and is expected to be completed by February 2025. And finally, in the local news this morning, the Jamaica Constabulary Force Communication Forensic and Cybercrime Division continues to play a crucial role in combating criminals who exploit digital platforms for their illicit activities. Communications Officer for the CFCD, Deputy Superintendent of Police Maurice Good, says the impact of the division's engagement is evident in statistics for the period 2016 to 2023. He says that during that period, more than 450 individuals were arrested, more than 400 of these persons charged, 29 extradited, and 62 convicted for cybercrimes. DSP Good was speaking during a recent Global Services Association of Jamaica President's Breakfast Forum at the Grant A View event place in Montego Bay, St. James. He highlighted the evolving nature of cyber criminals' tactics and emphasized the importance of staying ahead of these trends through continuous technological adaptation. You are listening to news on NRP Radio, your primary Christian source for news, sports, and the weather on nrpmediaja.com, reaching you where you are. No boundaries, no limitations. We're going to be segueing now and give you some sporting information brought to you by Hepburn's Glass. They are located at 13 Chisholm Avenue in Kingston, Jamaica. Check them today for all of your needs. Hepburn's Glass, of course, they are the talk of the town.
Stock gloves, cutters. Hepburn's Glass Supplies is the latest trend-setting supplier of glass and mirrors in the industry. We specialize in tinted and clear glasses, as well as mirrors for all your windows, doors, and closets at very competitive prices. To maximize your shopping experience, we stock 316 and 1/8 mirror thickness and 316 and quarter thickness in our entire stock of float glasses. We have in stock gloves, cutters, and suction cups at unbeatable prices. Our customer service is second to none, with same-day cutting for your specific measurements. Visit our office at 13 Chisholm Avenue, Kingston 13. Call us at 9080962 or email hepburn.glass@gmail.com. Hepburn's Glass, quality service is our priority.
And now for our sports stories, we bounce off on basketball. Stephen Curry scored 29 points as the Golden State Warriors bounced back from a painful defeat to thrash the Milwaukee Bucks 125-90. Seven-time NBA champions Golden State had suffered a staggering 52 points loss to the Boston Celtics on Sunday, but they scored an impressive 40 points in Wednesday's first quarter, that is, adding 38 in the second to take a decisive 78-58 lead at San Francisco's Chase Center. Said Curry, when responding to the win, quote, "For us to respond the way we did, coming home was big." That was Curry responding to the win. On football, Stina Bakstenius' first half hat-trick helped Arsenal secure their place in the Women's League Cup final with a dominant victory over Aston Villa. Blackstenius rifled past an elite at the near post after collecting a well-weighed Frida Manom through ball to give League Cup holders Arsenal the lead after only 9 minutes. The Sweden striker netted again just 2 minutes later, prodding home from close range after Alisa Rosso knocked a Beth-made cross towards her. Villa struggled as they were overrun by Arsenal's energetic attacking and found themselves 3 goals behind after just 18 minutes, with Maynham effortlessly curling a shot into the top corner from the edge of the area. Blackstenius pounced on a loose ball after Villa failed to clear a corner to complete her hat-trick before the break as Arsenal cruised towards a victory. Villa manager Carla said the first horribly disappointing. While her side improved in the second half, their moments of creativity remained fleeting, and Arsenal were rarely placed under any real pressure. They came out in relentless fashion tonight, and when they do, they can't turn anyone over like they did us in the first half, Ward told the BBC Sport. The second half was about pride. We knew the game was done, and it was about us going out there, and it was rolling up our sleeves or rollover time. We rolled our sleeves up in the second half and were much better, as she indicated. 6-time League Cup winners Arsenal will face the winner of Thursday's tie between Manchester City and Chelsea. Kickoff time is 7:15 Jamaica time in the final on Sunday, March 31 at Moneynooks. The March 2024 CONCACAF club rankings are now out. Based on the index, Mount Pleasant Academy is the highest ranked club in Jamaica and the third highest ranked club in the Caribbean. Trinidad and Tobago, in terms of country, are at 151. That's sports, brought to you by Hepburn's Glass, located at 13 Chisholm Avenue in Kingston, Jamaica. Thank you for staying with us right here on NRP Radio. We promise to bring you a good news story as often as we can. And if you know of any event or person whose good story we should highlight, please send this information to our email address at nationalreligiousmediaja@gmail.com or call or WhatsApp 876-336-9928. That's the local news and sports. We're asking that you stand by now for the latest international news, courtesy of the Voice of America. The Voice of America being our international partner. They provide us with news and give us insights about what is taking place on the international scene. Let's now join them.
This is VOA News. I'm Richard Green. Egyptian officials said Thursday that negotiations over a ceasefire in Gaza are at an impasse as Hamas insists on a process to end the 5-month-old war. The United States, Egypt, and Qatar have been trying to broker an agreement that would stop the fighting for 6 weeks and include the release of dozens of hostages held in Gaza in exchange for Palestinians imprisoned in Israel. The Egyptian official said that Hamas has accepted the proposal as a first stage, but wants commitments that will eventually lead to a more permanent ceasefire. Israel has ruled out that demand, saying it intends to resume the offensive after any ceasefire with the goal of destroying Hamas. International pressure is growing for Israel and Hamas to reach a deal that would halt the fighting, which has left much of the Palestinian enclave in ruins and sparked a humanitarian crisis. 3 crew members of a commercial vessel were killed Wednesday when a ballistic missile launched from Houthi-controlled territory. The vessel as it traveled through the Gulf of Aden. U.S. Central Command said 4 crew members were injured by the attack, 3 of whom are in critical condition. Officials say the 23-member crew was forced to abandon ship. SATCOM says it was the first fatal strike by an Iranian-baked Houthi militants since the onslaught on international shipping lanes began in mid-November in solidarity with Hamas. Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim issued a warning Thursday against attempts by other countries to block China's military and economic rise in the Asia-Pacific region. During a speech in Australia, Prime Minister Anwar said that China is within its own rights to be more forthright with their national interests and that the world must respond with empathy.
In their eyes, the adverse reactions to China's rise, militarily, economically, and technologically, represent nothing less than an attempt to deny their legitimate place in history. The obstacles being placed against China's economic and technological advancement will only further accentuate such grievances.
This is VOA News.
Thank you so much for listening there to the latest from the Voice of America, providing us there with international news. Now for the weather report and forecast right here on NRP Radio. The National Meteorological Service of Jamaica is reporting that there is a significant feature of a high-pressure ridge across Jamaica. The dry and stable conditions are expected across Jamaica over the next few days. In the 24-hour forecast this morning into afternoon, mainly sunny. Tonight, mainly fair. In terms of the 3-day forecast, starting tomorrow, Friday, Saturday through to Sunday, mainly sunny in the mornings and partly cloudy in the afternoons. In terms of other current regional weather features, an area of low pressure is currently across Panama. Maximum temperatures expected for Kingston today, 31 degrees Celsius. Maximum temperature expected for Montego Bay today, 30 degrees Celsius. That is the latest weather report and forecast right here on NRP Radio and happening inside of the NRP Break of Day Newscast. With that, we've come to the end of our news presentation for this morning. But before we go, here are the headlines once again. Successful councillors in the recent local government elections are expected to be sworn into office across the island today. Magisterial count continues in Westmoreland today, where the PNP is attempting to wrest power from the JLP candidate-elect in the Cornwall Mountain Division. Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, says that the government will be implementing measures to ensure greater spend of capital expenditure in the upcoming fiscal year. 3 firearms and several rounds of ammunition seized during an operation in Central Village, St. Catherine, yesterday. And in sport, basketball action, Golden State Warriors thrashes the Milwaukee Bucks 125-90 to take supremacy. The full half-an-hour package of news in the NRP Break of Day newscast came to you courtesy of NRP Radio, reaching you where you are. No boundaries, no limitations. Continue to listen to us here, and here's your invitation for you to join us again this evening at 6:30 for the NRP Evening News Roundup. On behalf of the entire news and production teams, I am Leon Nash for NRP News. We encourage you to join this growing medium by subscribing to our YouTube channel at NRP Media JA and feel fulfilled and informed. You can also share the with others. Have a good rest of your morning, reminding you that if you walk, ride, or drive, make every effort to arrive alive. 6:30 this evening, we'll be back with you. We'll be bringing you some excerpts from the installation of councils across the island as much as we possibly can. God bless you. Coming up on top of the hour at 7 o'clock on the radio platform, nrpmediaja.com, we're going to be having the program that is Let the Word Speak with Reverend Paul Blair. At this time, we're going to be closing off on the Facebook and the YouTube channels and ask that you go over to our radio platform at nrpmediaja.com. Have for yourselves a good rest of your morning. And the word of God in Luke 1:46 and 47 says, "My soul praises the Lord. My heart rejoices in God, my Savior." This is NRP Media and Radio. The time is